On the right side, you can see this kind of strand pictures that look like hair almost. That's our polymer, and we distribute the platinum very finely on the surface, so that it's basically everywhere. If we have the platinum just sitting in one place, and then start the reaction, as soon as there's some current going, it just agglomerates, and we lose all the surface area that we've had before. Obviously, if there's very small particles, lots of surface area, then that accumulates, there isn't that much surface area anymore. So that's one of the things that we have to look at. Make the particles really small, distribute them very finely all over the place, and prevent them from sticking together. Another thing that I mentioned before is replacing the platinum with something else. Again, just a couple of price charts. People came up with ruthenium, rhenium, and rhodium. And up to 1 year ago, ruthenium was the thing to go. It was about, I don't know, $80 per ounce. So very cheap compared to platinum. And that's what happens if you have an element that is almost not, very rarely dug out of the ground, and everybody wants it all of a sudden. Prices almost reached $1,000 within 1 year. Yeah, a factor of 10 increase in the price of ruthenium. So everybody talks about, hey, we replace platinum with something cheaper, and then you look at the price, and it's almost the same price these days. But the same thing with rhodium, it just went down crazily. And that, as I said before, uranium is more expensive, yeah, the price of platinum is increased. So ruthenium increased, rhodium, gold, steel, iron, you name it. And all the metals that we have to be more expensive because they have the extraction is more expensive. The fossil fuels are more expensive, and they have to be carried around from Canada to China to convert the sulfides into oxides, and then back to Canada to make steel out of the oxides. Then that's not really efficient and uses lots of energy and oil and thus lots of money. However, let's look at the research. Instead of using ruthenium or other kinds of metals, people have come up with ideas of using organic catalysts, and that's one of them. And if I look at these molecules, I have no idea about organic chemistry. So I'm like, okay, it looks nice. But I usually compare it with something, and if I look at this, almost looks the same. And you all know it. You've all seen it, right? You know what it is. Okay, I wouldn't know it, but if you look at that, you know what it is. It's a green stuff that makes our plants cool. It's chlorophyll. And the catalysts that we use in polymer exchange membrane fuel cells are basically almost the same thing as chlorophyll in plants. There's some disadvantages. Obviously, they're organic, so although they're more efficient, very efficient, they're not lasting that long. So at the moment, they're just falling off the surface, and obviously you have water flowing all the time there, and it's 80 degrees. That's not like no organic like that for a long time. So you still have to come up with make it cheaper, make it last longer, those kind of things, and more efficient. On the efficiency, if you compare cars, like the most efficient cars that we have these days are mainly about 30% efficient. So from whatever energy that we have in the fuel, 30% ends up getting us forward. And that's a really efficient one. Usually it's about like 17 is the average. Fuel cells are about twice as efficient, so we get about 60% of the energy out of that. So even if you use gasoline as our fuel in fuel cells, which is possible with the reform, then we can drive twice as far, and get the same amount of CO2 produced. Let's take a look at the high temperature fuel cells. My main research. As I mentioned before, we have to stack these kind of things, and just on the right side, this basically gives you the idea of how we go from one cell that we have here. Small cell. And just one cell, that's basically our small battery, and then if you increase the cells, there's about, I remember 2,000 cells in that stack. They're about this size. You just stack them all up. Then we get our stack. That's being done, for example, in Jülich. That's a German research institute. And these cells, as I mentioned before, they operate between 600 and 1,000 degrees centigrade, and are all based in ceramics. And if you look at the cross-section of those things, what we see here is how they look like. I've got an example somewhere. just handed it around. This is almost the same cell. There's only the cathode missing, so you can just hand it around. It's very small. This is actually based on metals, so we're trying to reduce the temperature to very low temperature, as in 600 degrees centigrade. And then we can use steels as a substrate. They're much stronger. Basically, that's one of the main reasons that we use them. And they're much cheaper than ceramics. You always have to produce them somehow. You have to fire them to a high temperature that they're sort of solid. Cool them, put the next layer on. So every layer that you see there, on the left side, in this case it's nickel oxide, and something that we call stabilized zirconia. Zirconia is a sand, so it's nickel oxide and sand. That's our anode. We have to produce it somehow, fire it to temperatures so that we produce the ceramic, take it out. Then we produce our electrolyte. In this case, it's a plasma spray electrolyte, and I'll talk about it in a second. And then fire it again to a high temperature that we produce the ceramic, take it down next to the cathode, and so forth. So that's a very long process, very expensive, high energy need. What we do, and that's one of our collaborators at UBC, it's called plasma spraying. And you see this plasma gun there on the left side? Well, that basically is, we apply high voltage over a small aperture, and then we produce the plasma. We basically rip off the electrons or the atom cores, and that's about 25,000 degrees hot, so it's pretty warm. Anything that's any material that we have sort of melts, even ceramics. It's very nice. And then, as you can see on the lower picture, we just sort of shoot the powder through. In this case, ceramic powder. So we produce ceramic powder first, grind it, and produce it in a certain way, and then we just feed it through the plasma gas. And on the right side, you can see the plasma torch in action. You can see much there. And there's a movie, but I don't think you can see. That's fine.